Hello, my name is Tom Ward, and I'm excited to bring you the online version of the Successful Life course, a part of the Successful Life experience. Now, you may be wondering a little bit about what we're going to get into, and we're going to share all that. But first, I thought you might like to know a little bit about the history of the Successful Life course. And who better to bring you that and share it with you than Ed Foreman, one of the creators of the Successful Life course. Ed Foreman and his partner, Earlene Vining, created the Successful Life course and impacted the lives of over 30,000 of the participants, who then impacted the lives of their families and coworkers and friends. No telling how many people gained benefits from the Successful Life course. So I'm going to share with you a video of Ed sharing with the course a few years ago the origins of the Successful Life course and a major milestone along the way. Ed?
Let me tell you about an interesting thing that happened back about 25 years ago. We had some outstanding people in our companies who were ready-mix concrete, sand and gravel, building and development business, oil and gas development business, who were enjoying a reasonable standard of living. They were enjoying life. They were at least had a fairly good income, but they just weren't excited. They weren't enthused about living. They were, instead of enjoying life, they were enduring life. They were the kind of people, whenever they got up in the morning, instead of saying, "Good morning, God," they said, "Good God, it's morning." You know the type I'm talking about. In fact, the kind of people that if they were in this room today and they just got up and walked out of here, they had raised the good feeling of everybody in here. You know the type I'm talking about. So we said to our people, what is it, for instance, that you know, Ralph, that if I would do it, it would help me to feel better? What is it, for instance, that you have done or that you have learned that if I would practice it would help me to enjoy a greater fullness of life, Diane? And so we asked our people, bring a book, bring a record, bring a tape, and let's share some ideas. And we went up to a little place in southern New Mexico, at a place called Ruidoso. And for a week we shared ideas. Some of them brought books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, the old record The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Some just came and said, well, my mother said if I do this, my daddy said if I do this, I'd feel better and I'd enjoy more out of life and I'd get along better. We even took our company doctor up there with us. And this was back in the days before it was popular to maintain a strong, healthy, dynamic, vibrant body, so you'd feel better, therefore think better, and perform better. And every morning at 6 o'clock, we'd be out on the tennis courts, we'd be going through calisthenics. And if you weren't out there to participate in calisthenics, we had what we call the baptism committee. That is, they'd come get you out of bed. And there's a little creek running behind the hotel out there, and there was a pond, about 55-degree water, and they'd toss you in that pond. Now, the reason we call it the baptism committee is once you were tossed in that pond, it made a born-again believer out of getting up early out of it. And also, you got to be on the baptism committee. And you didn't want to get on it that way, but we had a fun, exciting, enjoyable sharing experience. And so when we finished up, our people said, you know, I feel better than I have felt in a long time. Boy, this has been a real battery recharging, life rejuvenating experience. We ought to do this at least once a year. And so we put it on our calendar to do the following year. And about 3 months before it came up, they said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to invite our husbands, our wives, our children. We ought to make it an all-encompassing family affair. And so we did, and boy, did we have a good time. And when we finished up, what happened then, our suppliers, the people that sold us trucks and equipment, cement, our customers said, how about us coming to your next meeting? So the next year, instead of running one meeting, we ran two. And then they wanted their friends and their family and their associates to come, and then we went to 4 and 6 and 8, and began to grow and grow and grow and grow. Until about 6-8 years ago, I guess it was, I was in my office in Dallas, and I got a call, and they said, this is CBS News, 60 Minutes, said, we'd like to come in and do a feature on this positive attitude development training program you do. Well, I started laughing. I thought it's some friend of mine like Wirt or Dennis or Jim or somebody like that trying to play a trick on me. And I said, who is this nut calling anyhow? They said, this is CBS News, 60 Minutes. Said, we'd like to come in, do a feature on this positive attitude development training program we've been reading about. In fact, Texas Monthly had run about an 8-page spread on us. The National Management Magazine had run a very nice article on the kinds of results that we were getting as a benefit of this training. And I said, well, thank you very much. I said, we wouldn't be interested in talking to you. And I did something I very rarely do. I said goodbye and hung up the phone. Well, about 10 days later, I got a call from Morley Safer. And Morley Safer said, Ed, I understand one of our people called you to invite you to be on CBS News, 60 Minutes. You told him no, thank you, weren't interested. Goodbye, and hung up the phone. I said, Morley, you got the message exactly right. And he said, well, why wouldn't you be interested in being on our program? He said, we have an estimated viewing audience of over 50 million people. I said, Morley, I don't care if you've got an audience of 100 million people. We wouldn't be interested in being on your program because we've never seen you do anything positive before in our lives. He said, well, what do you mean? care if it was the President of the United States. I don't care if it was the Pope himself. I said, you cut them to ribbons, and we're not going to subject ourselves to that kind of international ridicule. He said, now wait a minute. He said, you see that show we did on Mrs. Lear Jet Corporation? I said, yeah, I saw that. He said, you see the one we did on Mary Kay Ash, Mary Kay Cosmetics there in Dallas? And I said, yeah, I saw that. He said, well, wouldn't you say that those were two fairly positive programs? I said, well, out of the 100 or more that I've seen or known about, I said, yeah, you did do two fairly positive programs. He said, well, that's the kind of show we want to do on you. Well, I've heard this kind of come on before, you know, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, Morley. I said, you and one of your key people come down from New York City. You go through our 3-day program. We condition it out from a week long to 3 days and nights. I said, you go through that program, and if you can begin to develop a more wholesome, positive, outgoing attitude, I said, that ought to prove that it works, and we'll talk to you about doing it. Well, to my surprise, he said, okay. And here they came. You ought to have seen them the first morning. They came in and sitting on the back row, arms folded, about like you are there, you know. Every once in a while, they punch the person next to him, listen to his hokey accent. Isn't this weird? They automatically assumed if you had a southern accent, you couldn't have any intelligence, you know. It was fascinating to observe. But it's not just a lecture program. It's lecture, go out and do it, come back and report on it, expand your sphere of living experience. It's an exciting, enjoyable experience you're going to find as you go through this program. And they did what they were asked to do. And the second day they came in, and I mean, their pencils were smoking. They were taking notes. They was wearing that big chief out, you know. And on the third day, I mean, every once in a while they'd say amen, saying amen to me like saying sick them to a dog, you know. I was moving on. In fact, some of you heard my friend Tony Campolo speak. Tony, any of you ever heard Tony Campolo, the outstanding minister up at the church in Philadelphia? In fact, Tony Campolo is a first-generation American. His family moved here from Italy. And he grew up in primarily an Italian neighborhood that later became a black neighborhood. And he grew up in this neighborhood and became a minister in the Mount Carmel Black Baptist Church in Philadelphia. And he said, Ed, there isn't anything like preaching in a black church. He said, you get feedback. Man, you know how you're doing. You're up there preaching and said, preach, baby, preach. Go, man, go. He said, I mean, that makes your blood boil. He said, you really get going. But he said, I'll never forget a situation. Happened one day. He said, I was giving my first major sermon. It was 11 o'clock Sunday service. And he said, I got up there and he said, I was stumbling. I was stuttering. I was stammering. I was trying to get going, you know. And he said, I was reaching for scripture and it wasn't coming. And he said, finally, one of the sisters said about 2/3 of the way back in the congregation, she said, help him, Jesus, help him! You know? But any of you get the feeling like a helping Jesus here today, I'll appreciate it. It'll get me going, you know. But anyhow, they were saying amen to me, and I was getting going, and we had a good, exciting time. And when we finished up, they said, I feel better than I have felt in a long time. This has been a rejuvenating experience. We can hardly wait to get back down here with our film crews and film this and show the people of this country what happens when you begin to develop a more wholesome, positive, outgoing attitude. And they came in with their film crew, and for a week they filmed in one of our classes. They went out and interviewed our graduates from 16 years old to 86 years old. Yeah, 3 times a year we do this program now for junior high and high school students and helping them to develop a better communicating relationship with their parents, their teachers, to feel better about themselves, to have a better self-image, to get turned on and excited and enthused with their lives. And they went out and they did a very positive 16-minute segment on CBS News, 60 Minutes, that was shown across the United States and by satellite around the world. And as a result of that program, we have now had participants from 17 free world countries come and participate in this experience. And a lot of people say, well, so what? The so what is this, ladies and gentlemen, is that people would not be investing their time, efforts, energy, and money in primarily an attitudinal improvement experience if it was not having a significant impact on the bottom line. And so what we're going to be sharing with you while you are here is how to begin to develop a more happy, positive, enthusiastic outlook.
Thanks, Ed. And I appreciate you telling the story about 60 Minutes. And what did 60 Minutes have to say about the Successful Life course? Well, this is what they said. They said, until we came to see it for ourselves, we did not believe it was possible that mature adults could or would significantly alter their lives for the better as a result of a 3-day educational experience. The significant improvements were affected by a unique combination of techniques that have proven to be long-term beneficial to the longevity, vitality, and performance of the participants. That's a pretty doggone good endorsement. We all have habits. Some of our habits are good, some are less effective or ineffective in getting us where we desire to be in life. Well, what distinguishes the difference between a good habit and a bad habit? Now, I'm making the assumption that the reason you're watching this is that you're interested in improving your status in life. You want to change something in your life. It might be your financial status. It might be the amount of relationships or the quality of relationships in your life. It might be your health. It might be just the overall fulfillment and balance you want to bring into your life. Well, whether it's relationships, health, wealth, or just an overall fulfillment and balance of your life, that's the outcomes that we create with the Successful Life course. So let's look at how some people throughout time have spoken about the importance and the power of habits. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And we all want excellence in our life. This dates back hundreds and hundreds of years, a recognition that we are what we repeatedly do. We want to develop those good habits to move us towards excellence. Now, I think a comment that Ben Franklin made was also particularly interesting. Your net worth to the world is usually determined by what remains after your bad habits are subtracted from your good ones. See, we all have good habits and we all have some bad habits. Isn't it interesting that this gentleman, this philosopher, this creator, inventor, politician, great thinker, recognized that bad habits subtracted the impact of our good habits, the impact on our relationships, the impact on our wealth, the impact on our health. Lately, let's bring things a little bit more up to date. You're saying, "Oh, Tom, you're talking about hundreds of years ago." These people are saying, yeah, well, one of the more successful motivators and influencers of the world has been Brian Tracy, and he simply stated, successful people are simply those with successful habits. So engaging and following and learning from a habit improvement program will help you become a more successful person too. So some of the areas that we'll cover include health, relationships, including the relationship with yourself, financial principles, time management, how to reduce stress and worry, goal setting, and much more. So we cover a broad spectrum such that you have the opportunity to create balance in your life. Now, how was this conveyed? How did it have such a positive impact on those 30,000 people? Well, the live course, which is what Ed and Erlene conducted for those 40 plus years, started by teaching the materials so participants would learn the concepts, and Ed and Erlene did it in a very enjoyable, fun fashion. Then, following the learning, they would immediately go do. They'd go learn about communication techniques and then use the technique. After that, there would be some reflection, some thoughts about what did I learn and how can I use that. Next, they would share their learnings with others, making the class, if you will, a mastermind, helping each other develop these new patterns. And lastly, they would commit to follow through. There was a specific time frame for follow through that was identified, and we'll share that later as we go for the course. But the general process was learn, do, reflect, share, commit. So how is this online course going to be taught? Well, guess what? We're going to start by teaching principles. We're going to do that through facts. We're going to do it through stories, and we're going to do it through metaphors. We're going to do it such that, if you will, both the left side and the right side of the brain have a chance to comprehend. We're going to have worksheets to follow up with, maybe some reading and some exercises that cause you to then go use the principles that you learn on the videos. You know, there's an old saying from Bruce Lee, To know and not to do is not yet to know. I once heard it said by Andrew Carnegie that knowledge alone is not power. It's the application of knowledge that brings power to us. So it's important that after we learn different concepts and principles on the videos, that we go do them, we go apply them, and we figure out how best to apply them for our specific life, our specific journey towards success. But I'd like to add to that a little bit. I'd like to say, to know and not to do is not to believe. See, Napoleon Hill, in his great book, Think and Grow Rich, taught us that anything the mind of man can conceive, and you bring yourself to believe, you can achieve. So we'll bring the concepts to you. We've got to do it effectively enough that you believe it so that you can go then achieve it. See, our role is to provide you with the proven principles that work. We know they work. We've seen them work for almost 50 years now. We're going to do that by bringing enjoyable stories that touch you. We're going to do that with researched facts that you can trust. And we're going to do it with enjoyable exercises that deepen your understanding so that you can bring yourself to belief. Now, how are we going to do it? Let's continue on that. Well, just like the live course, we said we're going to learn it, then we're going to do it, and we're going to reflect upon it too, with some questionnaires and some personal surveys along the way. Then we're going to share it. Now, you may be asking, Tom, how in the world are we going to be able to share this when you're on one side of the camera and I'm watching from a tube? Well, the greatness is with media that we have today, we can set up networks through Facebook Live or Facebook to be able to share with each other what we've learned, what we've experienced, and to get thoughts and questions for others. The other thing I would strongly suggest you consider doing is finding an accountability partner. Find someone else that is going through the course or that you can get to go through the course with you so that you all reflect and help each other. You hold each other accountable for watching the videos and taking notes, for doing the exercises, and then reflecting upon how that knowledge might impact your life positively. We're then going to ask you to commit. And we're going to take you through the development of a personalized plan so that it fits what you want to accomplish. Finally, we're going to do something a little beyond what's been done in the past. We're going to provide a habit follow-through support system for over 90 days so that you're going to get a little reminder, a little trigger each day, if you will, about some of the lessons that you've learned. That way, it gives you the cue, if you will, to release the habits that you're developing, to use them every single day. Now, that's our role, to help you with the learning, to assure that you have things to go do, to help you with reflection, and to provide a vehicle to be able to share your thoughts and learn from others. A way to commit to yourself what you're going to do, and then to provide that follow-up support for the next 90 days. But what is your role? Your role is to study the material, take notes. It's mostly video, but it's okay to stop the video and take notes along the way. I actually suggest that you watch each video at least 3 times. You've made the investment, use it. Next, there'll be some reading that we strongly recommend you complete on your journey. Some of the reading will be classic literature. Some of the reading will be new and updated material to help you develop your relationships, your health, and your wealth. Practice the assignments. Don't just think, oh, I'm just going to go to the next section. Use the assignments. Practice them. Then reflect upon how they can most impact your life. Finally, and that's the most important point, make your own choices. Choose what you're going to do. Choose the habits you're going to develop in the sequence that you're going to develop them to make your life, your journey, a successful life experience. From my book, The Power of Living by Design, I shared this. We are perfectly designed to get the results, the outcomes we get based on the choices we make. So it's going to be up to you to make the choices. See, let's go back to what Aristotle said at the very start. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And we hope you'll develop the habits that help you have a successful, terrific life experience. Now, before we get into the specific content, we want to share a few concepts that help in each of the lessons. So each of those new concepts will be the theme of one of the next sections as we move on this introduction. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to the next section.